Would you like to remind us what you were talking about at the weekend with the people that attended?
What I talk about really is something that, well, first of all, we can't really talk about. It's something that's completely beyond description, beyond words. We all have this sense that somehow everything is whole. Somehow, beyond the different forms of this world, the coming and the going of things, and beyond birth and death and time and space, somehow it's all one. Somehow there's a unity in the diversity, and it's a unity that somehow infuses that diversity, which is to say that there is a wholeness, and it's happening now. And somehow, as individuals, as people in the world, we don't see it. We're always looking for that wholeness, that sense of completion, somehow out there, in the future, because we believe that we are separate. We believe that we are separate people. We are individuals, somehow separate from the whole. And it's out of that sense of being separate that we begin to seek, to seek for happiness, for more money, for better relationships. And in the spiritual world, we seek for awakening, and we look for enlightenment. And somehow there's always this movement towards a future. There's always a looking for something more than what's happening. Somehow what's happening, we can call it the present moment, the now. Whatever's happening now, it's never quite enough for us. And there's always this sense that somehow, we're not whole. And what I really talk about is that this sense of separation is really illusory. It's really false, in the sense that we're not separate. We're not separate, and we never were. And this whole search of ours, the search for something more, rests on this false assumption. And what can happen is that the sense of being a separate person, the sense of being an individual, I'm a person with a past and a future, and problems and attainments and achievements, and that sense can fall away. The separate person, the separate self, can fall away, and what can be revealed is that already there's oneness, and there always has been. Throughout the seeking and the suffering of a lifetime, all there was oneness, and it's all that's ever happening. And when that's really seen, when that's seen in clarity, all seeking for something more can fall away, because it's seen that there's nothing more than this, than what's happening. And in that, what's happening is actually quite extraordinary. When there's no possibility of anything other than what's happening. When what's happening is seen to be all there is, it's quite extraordinary. We spend our lives seeking for something extraordinary out there, for something, something more, because we think that this is so ordinary. What's happening, our lives as they are so ordinary. And we get attached to our spiritual teachings that promise so much more out there, somehow in the future. But when that search falls away, when that search for the extraordinary falls away, what's left, like here and now, it seems to be quite extraordinary, and yet it's so ordinary. So that whole duality, the ordinary versus the extraordinary, it collapses, it falls away. So this is the end of duality. But it's not something that can be spoken of. So these words are really just feeble attempts to kind of point at this. No words could capture this wholeness, because words operate in the world of duality, of this and that, of up and down, left and right. So these words could never hope to capture something that's beyond anything that's beyond duality. Because words, thought, ideas, concepts operate in the realm of duality. And what we're pointing at is something that's completely beyond words and concepts, beliefs, religions. It's beyond all of that. It points to something that's happening now, and it's so present, and it's so obvious when it's seen. So really with words we can only hint at this. We can only hint at this. And what I always say, it's not about the words. It's not about the words. It's about the energy of it. It's not about understanding these words. Taking these words on as a new belief system. It's like we've got enough words and concepts already. We have enough knowledge already. The amount of knowledge that we have is enough. But it's like that's the only way the mind could hear this, as another belief system, another set of concepts. And it loves that. It loves to try and understand. It wants to understand. It wants to finally get it. It's desperate. It's desperate to get this, to understand this, because in that attempt to understand this, it's keeping itself alive. The mind doesn't want to see that everything's okay here. It couldn't possibly want to see that, because to the mind that's death. That to the mind that doesn't leave it anything to do. It always wants something to do. So this message, it doesn't give the mind anything to do, and that can be very powerful. Because in that space that opens up, in the absence of doing, in the absence of seeking, something else can open up. And then there's a resonance. That's why a lot of people come to my meetings and they say it's not about the words, but undeniably there's something in those words, or something that the words are pointing to. It's something to recognise, and it's on a level that's far beyond the words. It's a resonance. It's like, oh, I've always known this. So really, that's what I'm pointing to. Is that something that we've all of us, we've always known from the very beginning. Since we were newborn babies, we've known this. And really, because it's what we are. It's pointing to what we are beyond what we think we are, beyond name, form, beyond bodies, beyond past and future, beyond our history, beyond all of that. It's pointing to what we are, and really we can't talk about it because it's too present for that. And it's happening now, and it's always happening, but we can't see it. We can't see it because we're looking for it. And paradoxically, in the absence of that seeking, it reveals itself. Oneness reveals itself, and it's like it appears as. It's like right now, oneness is appearing as this body and this movement and trees and flowers and sounds and the heart beating, and that's fully oneness. But to the mind that's trying to grasp that, that's trying to look for it, it hasn't got a hope. It hasn't got a hope, and so that's why this message can be quite challenging to a mind that's looking for that, to a mind that wants something. It's the last thing the mind wants to hear. There's nothing to get, but also it can't hear that, and so it won't be heard until it's heard. And when it's heard, it's so obvious. It's like, oh, it was this all along, and I spent my life searching for something so much more. So it's like the secret. It's right here, in the very ordinary things of life. In the chairs and the tables and the trees and the flowers and the air and the hands and feet. It's in everything. And it's like it's so well hidden that it appears as everything, and yet we still can't see it because we're too busy looking for it, looking for something more. So this is about the possibility that that search can fall away, and what it leaves is, well, you can't really talk about it.